Let's be real, most people won't tell you to your face that they don't like you. Instead, they hide behind fake smiles, hollow compliments, and forced politeness. I've been there too, thinking someone was a friend only to find out they were secretly rooting for my downfall. It's harsh, but if you don't pick up on the signs, you'll waste time and energy on people who deep down don't really get you. So let's talk about how to recognize when someone dislikes you but is keeping it hidden. It might be tough to hear, but it's better than living in denial. 1. They're always joking about your flaws. We all know that one person who loves to joke, especially when the joke's at your expense. They'll point out your quirks, mistakes, and imperfections, all while smiling and saying, "I'm just messing with you." It seems harmless at first, but let's be real, these jokes are more than just playful banter. They're carefully calculated digs, disguised as humor, slowly chipping away at your self-esteem. I remember someone close to me who always had something to say about how I dressed, how I talked, even the projects I worked on. At first, I laughed along, thinking it was all in good fun. But over time, I saw a pattern. The jokes were always about my weaknesses, never my strengths. Soon, I found myself second-guessing everything, wondering if I was really as flawed as they made me feel. Here's the truth. People who constantly joke about your flaws aren't doing it out of affection. They're testing you to see how much disrespect you'll tolerate. It's a subtle form of manipulation, a way to assert dominance while keeping you down. They're basically telling you that you're beneath them, and the worst part is they get away with it. Because we've been conditioned to believe that if we can't take a joke, we're the ones with the problem. But here's the flip side. There's nothing wrong with standing up for yourself when a joke crosses the line. In fact, it's crucial. You deserve to be surrounded by people who lift you up, not those who tear you down for a cheap laugh. True friends don't need to point out your flaws to feel better about themselves. They celebrate your strengths and you work on your weaknesses without making you the punchline. I've seen it happen time and again. People let these jokes slide because they think it's easier to keep the peace than to speak up. But here's the real issue. Allowing others to disrespect you, even in a joking way, it's a slippery slope. It starts with small comments, but over time, those digs wear you down, making you question your worth. The more you let it happen, the more they'll push until you're left doubting yourself, all because you didn't want to seem too sensitive. I had to learn this the hard way. By laughing along, I was basically giving them permission to keep going. I was complicit in my own disrespect. It wasn't until I started pushing back and setting boundaries that I noticed a shift, not just in how they treated me, but in how I saw myself. I stopped letting their words define me and started owning my narrative. So here's my advice. The next time someone makes a joke at your expense, don't just laugh it off. Ask yourself, is this really funny? Or is there something more going on? If it's the latter, don't be afraid to call them out. It might be uncomfortable, and it could even end a friendship, but your self-respect is worth more than someone's misguided sense of humor. In the end, life's too short to surround yourself with people who don't see your value. If someone's idea of friendship is constantly pointing out your flaws, it's time to find new friends. The people who truly care about you won't need to put you down to feel better about themselves. Stand tall, speak up, and don't let anyone reduce you to a punchline. 2, they give compliments that sting like insults. We've all been there. Someone gives you a compliment, but instead of feeling good, you're left with a bitter aftertaste. It's the kind of compliment that makes you pause and think, wait, was that a compliment or an insult? The harsh truth is, it's often a little bit of both. These backhanded compliments are a sneaky way for people to undermine you while pretending to be kind. I remember working on a project I was really proud of. After pouring hours into it, I shared it with some colleagues. One of them, someone I thought supported me, smiled and said, "Wow, this is actually pretty good for someone like you." I was stunned. On the surface, it seemed like a compliment, but those last few words, "for someone like you," hit me like a ton of bricks. What did that even mean? Was I not supposed to be capable of doing good work? This is where the issue lies. These so-called compliments aren't meant to uplift you. They're designed to keep you in your place. It's a power play, a way for them to assert their superiority while making you doubt yourself. They're saying, "I see you trying, but you'll never be as good as me." It's toxic, but it's wrapped up in such a pretty package that you almost miss the poison inside. Let's be honest, people who give backhanded compliments are often insecure themselves. They see your potential, your strengths, and scares them. So they use these sneaky digs to keep you second-guessing yourself, to make sure you don't rise too high. It's like they're patting you on the back while holding you down with the other hand. Here's the controversial part. We've all done it at some point. Maybe not intentionally, but we've all let our insecurities slip out in the form of a compliment that's meant to remind someone of their place. But here's the takeaway. You don't have to accept this disguised hostility. You have the power to reject it, to see it for what it really is, a reflection of their own insecurities, not a measure of your worth. When someone says, "You're smarter than you look," or "This is good considering you're new at this," you don't have to swallow it whole. Call it out for what it is, even if it makes things awkward. If you don't, you're letting them control how you see yourself, and that's a power you should never give to anyone. They keep you at arm's length with excuses. Have you ever felt like someone is always too busy for you? It can be incredibly frustrating when you feel strung along, as though you're being kept on the back burner without any real intention of moving forward in the friendship or relationship. This behavior often stems from a reluctance to confront the truth, that they've outgrown the relationship, but don't want to deal with the discomfort of being honest. So instead, they keep you on the hook with excuses, leaving you to wonder if you're doing something wrong. I've been on both sides of this equation. There were times when I made excuses, not knowing how to tell someone found that I had emotionally checked out, but being on the receiving end taught me a valuable lesson. It's better to face the awkwardness of honesty than to string someone along with excuses. I remember finally calling out a friend who was always busy. It was an uncomfortable conversation, but it gave me clarity. The truth, though harsh, allowed me to invest in relationships where I was valued. The deeper message here: your time and energy are precious. Don't waste them on people who can't be bothered to make time for you. You deserve relationships with people who genuinely enjoy your company, not just when it's convenient for them, but because they value you as part of their lives. They avoid physical contact like the plague. Let's address the awkward truth. When someone goes out of their way to avoid even the most casual physical contact, they're sending a clear signal. While it's true that not everyone is comfortable with touch, selective avoidance is different. When someone hugs everyone else but stiffens up around you, it's a red flag. They might not dislike you enough to say it outright, but their body language is doing the talking. I once had a colleague who recoiled every time I reached out for a handshake or friendly pat on the back. It wasn't just me, others noticed it too. Eventually, I realized that their aversion to physical contact wasn't just a personality quirk, it was a deliberate effort to keep me at a distance. Physical contact is a fundamental part of human connection. It shows trust, warmth, and empathy. When someone avoids it, they're avoiding not just touch, but closeness and vulnerability. I've learned to pay attention to these cues. Confronting this discomfort isn't easy, but it can reveal underlying issues in the relationship. It might lead to a deeper understanding, or it could show that the relationship isn't as strong as you'd hope. Either way, it's better to face the truth than live in denial. They disappear when you need support. Nothing tests a relationship like a crisis. When life gets tough, you find out who your real friends are. So, what does it say about someone who vanishes the moment you need them the most? It's not just hurtful, it's a betrayal. I learned this the hard way. During a personal crisis, I reached out to those I considered close friends, but instead of support, I was met with silence. The people I thought would be there for me suddenly had every excuse in the book. I'm swamped at work. I'll check in with you later. Spoiler alert, they never did. The deeper truth is that support isn't about convenience. It's about being there when it's hard and uncomfortable. People who disappear during your darkest moments aren't just being inconsiderate, they're showing you where you really stand in their life. Don't let their absence make you bitter. Let it make you better. Use it as a filter to remove people who don't deserve a place in your life. They gossip about you behind your back. Gossip is the social poison that spreads faster than wildfire, destroying trust in relationships. When someone you consider a friend talks behind your back, they're doing more than just sharing a story. They're sabotaging you. I've been the subject of gossip before, and it's one of the most gut-wrenching experiences. I once confided in someone I trusted about a personal issue, only to hear twisted versions of that conversation circulating just days later. It wasn't just a betrayal of my trust. It was a deliberate effort to hurt me. The controversial truth: people who gossip about you are playing a power game. They elevate themselves by putting you down without confronting you directly. It's cowardly, manipulative, and toxic. And remember, if they gossip about others to you, they're likely gossiping about you to others. Confronting the person who betrayed my trust didn't yield an apology or explanation. Instead, they brushed it off as harmless talk. But gossip is never harmless. It's a clear sign that someone doesn't respect you, and that's not a relationship worth keeping.